Welcome to episode 7 of the Wrassingh Show. Today's special guest is a professional wrestler based out of Nottingham, UK, trained by the Sticks at the House of Pain and Paul Mallon at Aspire Wrestling Alliance. Hers is a name you will never forget. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Luna Rocks. Luna, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show today. So tell us, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, obviously with everything that's been going on, it's an unusual time for kind of wrestling all over, and especially kind of British wrestling and the kind of local indie scene that we have going on here.
Right.
But yeah, everything's good apart from that.
And when was the last time that you stepped into the wrestling ring?
I think my last show that I had before everything was something about the 18th of March.
Okay.
So a good few months ago. Yeah, that was my last match, and I think it was a championship match as well, for retaining my tag team championship belts at one of the promotions.
Right. And do you miss the ring at all?
Yes, I do. Yeah, definitely. It's not only kind of a place to wrestle, but it's also it's a good stress reliever. To go around kind of flinging yourself around and kind of like attacking people and throwing them around. It is a good for that type of stuff as well.
All right. So let's talk about you, Luna. Let's talk about your ring name, Luna Rocks. It's a very catchy name.
Yeah.
And it's also a little different because, most of the people that we hear, the wrestlers, when we hear the word rocks, it's always like Roxy. And you are like, you Luna Rocks. So can you tell me something about its origin and how did you come up with this name?
Yeah, I mean, I originally, because my type of personality is I'm kind of like a rock chick. So and I wanted, and they always said that when you're developing your gimmick, make it something that's kind of an exaggerated version of yourself. So I went down so many different ideas when I was trying to think of this gimmick. I think at one point I was going to do a female version of Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura. Right. I was going to maybe be like a Scottish kind of warrior because I'm like half Scottish.
Okay.
And then I kind of ended up in this kind of like rock chick kind of personality, and that's where the rocks side came from. And then it was literally just a case of elimination to find a name that kind of worked with that. And I picked Luna Rocks because I just thought it sounded, kind of the gimmick that I was looking for.
Let's see. So the gimmick is just an exaggerated version of yourself.
Yes.
Pretty cool. So it must be not too hard for you to portray the the character in the ring because it's just you. You're not like pretending to be someone else. It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, like Luna Rocks she can be a little bit mean, but like it's kind of the inner me a little bit.
Okay, that's very cool. So Luna, you made your in-ring debut in I think December of 2019, and in like such a short span of time, you have made somewhat of a name for yourself in the UK independent scene. So how has your experience been in the industry so far?
Well, I made my in-ring debut 2018, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember myself. It might have even been a year before. It might have even been 2017. I can't remember, but so I trained for about 10 or so months before I made my kind of in-ring debut. Okay. And then from then I haven't really stopped, and I've worked from promotion to promotion, trying to kind of make a name for Luna Rocks as best as possible in the the indie scene, really.
Right. So when you talk about UK wrestling industry, it is up there, with the US and Japan wrestling industries. So being a part of this industry, what do you think? Can you tell us something about the UK industry?
Well, it's I obviously I have never ever experienced firsthand, the American side, but the kind of British indie scene, we have obviously the NXT side, but we also have the kind of lower level indie side, which is what people kind of they start. That's where they start out. So they start out at all these indie wrestling promotions and build their way up to NXT UK, and then hopefully onto kind of WWE from there. Right. And the whole atmosphere of the British scene is, we're all very friendly. Everyone knows everyone. Okay. If you could travel halfway up the country and be wrestling someone who you've wrestled 20 times before, it's very much a community that we're all kind of part of around here, and we all kind of support each other as kind of best as possible.
All right, that's nice. It's like a big family. That's very nice to hear.
Yeah.
When we talk about UK scene, especially when we talk about it online, most of the online community, they have this belief, a bias against NXT UK, because they somewhat accuse NXT UK of destroying the British wrestling industry. Do you agree with that statement?
I mean, I don't really, have much kind of, opinion on that side of things. I'm more kind of focused on the kind of local indie scene. I do watch kind of WWE, NXT level, because some of the people that are on there I support. But I think it all depends on kind of what your ambitions are and what your goal is. Some people do want to make it to WWE, and to them that is a big goal and a big achievement, and there's others that are happy just remaining in their own little bubble of independent wrestling shows, which is kind of where I kind of stand, because that's what I like, that's what I support. So I don't think NXT or WWE are walking kind of all over kind of British wrestling. It's it's a different kettle of fish, really. That's what I think, anyway.
Yeah, very well. And talking about the local independent scene, how hard is it for a newcomer to get into the indie scene in British?
I mean, like I said, we're quite a big community. Like everyone knows everyone, so it's about making that kind of impression. Okay. So before I was even on shows, I would try and go to as many different promotions as possible to get my name out there, like my face, and help kind of set up the ring, help take down the ring, talk to the promoters and kind of get them liking me as an individual before they kind of like invest in me for their kind of shows. Yeah. And and the amount of opportunities that I've been given purely because I put in the work to help set up the ring and help take it down when some people didn't. I kind of stood out, and that's when kind of promoters kind of gave me a chance. And then I obviously had to prove myself by my wrestling abilities, and and just worked on that basically. So yeah, that's what I did.
Beautiful. So a lot of work goes into it. It's not just about your skill, but also your heart, because only somebody with the true passion and desire to be a wrestler would do stuff like helping set up the ring and being around when you're, not really. Yeah, very cool. So you're from Nottingham. You're from Nottingham, and when people talk about that place, they think of cricket, they think of boxing, they think of Peter Pan. What is the general perception of the people of Nottingham when it comes to professional wrestling?
I think it's quite central to kind of the UK. So because it's East Midlands, so there's a big chunk of kind of wrestling scene in this kind of area, and it also does come down to the different training schools that are available in this area. So there's quite a few that are renowned for being training up people who have gone on to do great things. For example, I've trained at House of Pain. They're based in Nottingham. I actually trained alongside Kanji, and she debuted for NXT UK at Download. I think it was last year. Mm-hmm. And she's succeeded massively, and she's been taught by Stix from House of Pain. So it can be centralized around the reputation of the different schools. And and Nottingham does have a good base of kind of training facilities nearby as well that have kicked out a few pretty decent wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. I see. So Luma, there's something unique about you, that
that I've interviewed wrestlers in the past, and there is something about you that sets you apart from everybody else. And that thing is that you were, I believe, not a huge fan of wrestling when you were growing up. Is that true?
Well, to an extent, yeah. I mean, I wasn't that I wasn't a huge fan. I just didn't know about it.
Okay.
So, I think the most I knew about it was I would play kind of PlayStation games, with my cousins and stuff. But, my family never watched it, so I never watched it. I didn't have any brothers or sisters, so they didn't watch it because I didn't have any. And then, my friend, a friend took me to see a local show in Nottingham.
Mhm.
And I remember seeing it, and Jeff Hardy was there, and Cody Rhodes, and I was like, "What is this? This is amazing!"
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit of a kind of a drama student when I was growing up, and sorry, it's just my partner, a bit of a drama person kind of growing up, and seeing something where it involved acting and almost fighting, I was literally amazed by it, and I was like, I remember looking up and seeing. Hardy do the delete,
Right.
and being like, I want to do that, and it, literally the rest is history because I was just hooked by then, and I just started training immediately. So yeah.
Beautiful. So, growing up, like when like played the games on PlayStation and all that stuff, did you ever imagine yourself, being one of them, being a professional wrestler? Ever?
No, I don't think it even crossed my mind that it was a possibility.
Yeah.
It was almost like watching a movie and watching your favorite actor just act in one of their films. It never
Right.
ever came to a possibility that people have trained and can achieve that. And there's also a local scene. I never knew there was a local scene at all, and I never even heard of it until I started training myself.
Okay, very cool. Kind of reminds me of myself because when I was growing up, I was not into wrestling either. So my first PlayStation game was like SmackDown versus Raw 2007 or 8, and that got me into wrestling. And there were these tag team called the Crime Time, and I used to love them. And I found out on Google about them, and I came to know, oh, they're from WWE. And it's like I started following my passion. And yesterday I was interviewing, JTG from Crime Time. So like we both are following our passion, and that's beautiful. I love that. So
Yeah.
you were okay. Let's say you were into wrestling, not into wrestling a little bit. But what were your main interests growing up? What was it something that you were really really into?
Well, I've always been quite an artistic kid, and I
Okay.
still am. I was always drawing and making things and crafting things, and it's kind of led into how I am now as an adult. My kind of career is kind of based on kind of marketing and kind of like creating kind of like content and social media and writing and things like that. And I've also got my own Etsy shop, so I kind of draw my own illustrations. So I'm very much creative. So I've always been a creative person, and I think that came into wrestling because of the drama side that I kind of started to do when I was in sixth form and secondary school.
Very
So,
cool.
and it just kind of mixed everything together.
Very cool. Very cool. So do you also design your own merchandise?
Yes, I do. Yes.
You do? Very cool.
Yes, I've only got one T-shirt, but yes, I did design it.
Beautiful. So where can fans buy your T-shirt if they want to buy it?
Well, if I do have, I think I have an online shop, but I mostly just get people to message me on Instagram or Facebook, and because I have all my T-shirts with me, so I'm the one that sends them out. So
Oh, very
yeah,
cool.
and I usually have them at shows and everything like that as well. So yeah,
Very
just
cool.
follow me on Instagram.
Very cool. So, when you were in school and you were in college, what was the profession that you had in mind? Okay, this is what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Oh, it varied so much. I still don't know myself now, but I think I went through because I was a bit of a tomboy growing up, and I think I was always playing with my cousins, in the forest and like playing in mud and all this kind of stuff. And I think at one point I wanted to be James Bond. And then I kind of moved into kind of think at a time I wanted to be a car mechanic.
Okay,
But
interesting.
then I did start to, yeah. I did start to go into more kind of the creative industry. So I studied advertising at university, and then I did a master's in creative writing. So, you know, it's kind of led me more down kind of that side of things, you know, and yeah.
Wow, so you're not only skilled in the ring, you're also skilled outside of the ring. Very cool.
I suppose you could say that.
Very
Educationally
cool.
skilled.
And that's something that you don't see a lot of times, you know, in many sports. So that's very, very cool. Una, tell me this. I know that you went to, you know, the show and you saw Matt Hardy and Cody Rhodes, but what was that time, you know, in your life when you were like, no, screw it. I'm going to be a professional wrestler. I've made my mind. I'm going to be a wrestler. What was that moment?
Well, I mean, you know, at the time, it was more I just wanted to do it because I saw it as kind of a hobby, and it, you know, and then it kind of evolved into something where, you know, I enjoyed it, and I was getting booked on shows, and those promoters were, you know, trusting me with championship belts, you know, and opportunities. And, you know, and from then, you know, I realized that, you know, I had a following, and I had kind of fans that supported me and came to my shows just to kind of see me. And it was kind of like, it just was a more of a gradual thing that it came to.
Definitely.
So yeah, it was more gradual. I didn't really have like hang on a minute. But yeah. So.
I'm not surprised that you had this amount of trust from the promoters and the amount of support that you got from the fans, because you are so good in the ring, but apart from that, you also have a very beautiful and charming personality. So I'm not surprised at all. So
thank you.
Were you ever called crazy, you know, for deciding to be a wrestler? Did your family, because you mentioned that your family, nobody watched wrestling. So were they like, Luna, you're crazy? Did that ever happen?
Yeah, of course. Right. My family, my parents still think I'm crazy. Like it's one of those things where it's so normal to me. But whenever I bring it up to, you know, people or, you know, new people that I meet, they're like, what? You're a wrestler? Like what, as in like WWE? And I'm like, well, I guess it's that type of wrestling style. Yes.
Yeah.
And people actually can't get their head around it. And yeah, some people are like, you know, isn't it dangerous? And it's like, well, yeah, but you know, people who play any sport, you know, you put in your kind of a certain element of your life at risk. You know, like even kind of football players, they can easily like go over and break their leg or their arm or whatever. Definitely. And it's exactly the same for kind of wrestling, you know. But we're kind of working together to make sure that doesn't happen, because obviously no one wants to get hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah. Properly hurt. You do get hurt, but you know, not properly hurt.
So has your family or friends, have they ever been like ringside during any of your matches?
Yeah, most of my non-wrestling friends have kind of supported me occasionally, like when I debuted. I think my parents have come to see me twice.
Oh, really?
Because when I first started, they saw it more as kind of me just doing some sort of hobby, and not the fact that I was kind of an entertainer being part of a show. Right. And I had to kind of obviously let them, trying to get them to understand that it's not just a hobby, me going down to, you know, the local sports centre and just kind of putting someone in a wrist lock. You know, it was me being part of a promotion and part of a show and entertaining people, you know. So, you know, and once they kind of understood that is when they were like, oh, okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, okay, we'll come support you then as your kind of family. But yeah, no, it's most, I don't really have that many like friends outside of the wrestling world, and obviously most of those friends I'm backstage with anyway. So
I see. So like if I was a wrestler, you know, and if my family was ringside, I would find it really very hard to play my character, because if I see my mom sitting ringside, I'll be like, hey mom, you know. It doesn't ever happen. How do you manage to, you know, stay in character when you know these people, you know, who you live with, they know who you are, and you're playing this character in the ring. So do you ever find it hard to do that? You know? I guess that's what makes you professional. Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, it is so hard because obviously I work as a heel, so the bad guy. So, you know, I'm used to coming out and kind of getting in kids' faces and telling them to shut up and, insulting them and just being just a horrible person. And obviously my parents are not used to that. They're used to this. So it is, I can't give them eye contact. I'm just literally like, I don't really look at them. I just kind of look around them because I physically can't shout in their face because I know I'll start to laugh and break character.
Yeah.
It is very hard to try and be in character when you know someone from a personal level is in the audience. I just try and avoid eye contact and say, just sit in the back. But they don't. They sit front row and they're there booing me and shouting my name.
Beautiful. Wow. It's very interesting, the world of wrestling. Okay, so you said that, you play a heel, but you've sort of broken your character during this interview, and I can tell that you are a babyface in real life. So is it hard being a babyface in real life to play a heel in the ring, or is it like just okay?
Well, I am a babyface in certain situations. I think I see myself as, I'm a kind of a fighter. Luna Rock's the character is she's a fighter. So if she wants something, then she will go about and get it. So if it requires her to, be mean and be on the bad side of the audience to get it, then she will get it because she's an achiever and that's what she wants. And it clearly works because she has 3 championship belts under her name. So she's doing something right. So she's nice, but she's also a bit mean.
So Luna Rocks is actually very, very interesting. And something very interesting about her is her hair. And I believe Luna has had numerous hair colors over the period of time, since your career. So can you tell me what inspires your hair color, and is it a way to send a message or to support your wrestling character? How does it work?
I've always been someone who's liked to dye my hair. I mean, obviously my hair right now is very plain and blonde, but that's just because I haven't been out anywhere, so I just have just been giving my hair a rest. But I've always been someone to dye my hair kind of different colors. Like I've been like purple and red, and I think blue at one point. And it just so happened that I was transitioning into kind of pink hair when I debuted, and I kind of got that kind of reputation with my pink hair, and then I went into gear that was pink, and I just became what I call myself the pink phenomenon. Because and the pink power of Luna Rocks, because pink was kind of my signature look because that's what the color of my hair. And then so it's changed a little bit, but the pink power is still within.
I see. No, it still looks great. It looks fantastic. What hair color is your personal favorite?
Pink. I love it. I went blonde originally because my friend was getting married and I was her bridesmaid, and her bridesmaids dresses were like red, and the pink and the red, I was like, it's not going to go, so I'll dye my hair blonde so that I'm a little bit more kind of neutral for your wedding. And then I went back to being pink, and then I was like, oh, I'm bored of pink now, I kind of want to be blonde again, and now I'm blonde, I want to be pink. So my hair's going to fall out soon enough, so I might even be on wigs. But pink is definitely my favorite. I've definitely felt the most kind of confident and comfortable in that color, and also it's Luna Rocks' kind of signature hair. It's so everyone knows her with pink hair.
Okay, very cool. We were just talking about your hair, and we were talking about heel or face. So let's talk a little about characters in wrestling. How important is it for a person to find a character, and how hard it is to find the right character for yourself?
It is very hard. I mean, even now, I'm thinking of how my character can evolve, and I think that's very important in wrestling. I mean, even if you look in the professional WWE, you see characters evolve and change.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's part of the kind of process. You have and that's where, when I was saying earlier about it's like an exaggerated version of yourself, because it's a good starting point for your character, because it's you being you, but just an exaggerated version. And then from kind of your experience on in the ring and how the audience reacts with your character is how you can evolve it and push the boundaries of that character. And so it kind of evolves based on the kind of surroundings that you're in. And, you know, I think it is important to evolve to, you know, to make sure that your character doesn't just get stale and boring,
Absolutely.
really.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah. I think the only wrestler who has been able to, drag along his character for so long is John Cena. And even his character has actually started to get stale after like 11 years. And then he went back to Hollywood. So I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Evolving the character is very important. Sometimes I feel that life would be so much easier if wrestling was like Harry Potter. You know, like Harry Potter, when you're getting started as a wizard, you just have to go to a shop, pick up a few wands, and see which wand works the best for you. If wrestling had something like that, which character works the best for me, it would be just incredible.
Yeah, I know, that would be so good to try all these different characters. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. All right. So let's talk about training, because we just talked about, safety, how important it is to be safe and how people get hurt in wrestling. So let's talk about your training. How long did it take for you to, train to become a safe wrestler? Because when you're training to become a fighter, it's one thing. You're training to beat somebody. But when you're training to become a wrestler, you're trying to beat somebody also while also taking care of them. So how hard it is to be a safe wrestler?
Yeah, I think it all depends on the person. I mean, when, for example, my kind of experience, because I joined wrestling, completely not knowing anything. You know, like someone would be like, "Oh, put them in a full Nelson," and I'd be like, "What's that?" Whereas most people who started out, like when they make that decision to do training, they know quite a lot of the moves. They've watched wrestling their entire life. They know what they're called. They know what the business is. You know, the business names, the big kind of like dogs to look out for. You know, and I was there just like, who's John Cena? Who is that? I have no idea. What is WWE type of thing. So for me, it wasn't just about learning, the safe way to wrestle. It was also learning the industry and the names of things and how to do stuff like that. But like it required, I was very kind of hands on. Because I was so passionate about it. I was training like 3 to 5 times every week because I just loved it so much. And like I said, it took me probably about 10. I think it was about 10 months. 10 months of training because for me to get into a position where my trainer felt confident enough that I could perform safely, but also put on a show, be able to, go out onto into the ring and be able to perform, with fellow wrestlers and put on a show that, people would be, committed to because, you're not just, just flinging yourself around a ring. You're trying to tell a story and kind of sell yourself at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I feel like the fact that you did not grow up watching wrestling religiously also could work in your favor, because if you look at your fellow wrestlers and if they come head to head and toe to toe with somebody like Arn Anderson, or let's talk about anyone from the past, they'll be intimidated. But you're not going to care. You're going to be like, okay, bring it on, So I think it kind of works in your favor. I mean, you're not going to be intimidated by anybody, That's something that's...
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was training, like my trainer, my main trainer at the time, Sticks from House of Pain, he, he would say, it's almost like you're kind of a blank canvas. You're kind of seeing things from a new perspective.
True.
I was always the one that would ask those questions that not many people would ask because to me, it sounded odd, but to everyone else who grew up with it, it was the norm. But I would ask that question and I would kind of try and I would see things from a slightly different perspective because I was kind of an outsider from that point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you ever feel like, you did not fit in since you were like kind of an outsider? Did you ever feel like, oh, this is not my league, these people are somebody different? Ever felt like that?
No, I think the nature, especially kind of the local scene, the nature of the business, especially when you're learning to train, there's so many supportive people who, encourage you and push you to kind of, reach your potential. And, and it makes you feel like you are part of a family, because we're all interested in the same thing. We all want to be safe and achieve like similar goals, and people kind of they want to give you constructive feedback to help you improve, so the next time you have a match, you're better at this, or you come across better as a heel or a baby face, or a safer method in doing a particular move, or or if the psychology behind the wrestling match doesn't quite make sense, someone will bring it up to bring it out and tell you about it so that you can learn from it. So yeah, it's very much a kind of a close-knit kind of community where everyone kind of supports everyone, which is really nice.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful. So we're talking about training, and I can see that you have great communication skills, and you were into theater and art. So I'm pretty sure that you must have been very comfortable when it comes to promos and cutting promos. And how, tell me something about it. How, like, do you train for cutting promos, or is it something that you just do when you get in the ring?
No, it is trained to an extent. I mean, I think some people are just naturally kind of gifted at it. I do struggle with kind of sometimes getting the words out a little bit, but yeah, I did used to go to kind of promo classes, so it would help you kind of best describe your character and what kind of to mention to make sure that you're hitting all the right points, because like one of the main things about a promo is people remember you as a person, so make sure you say your name, and one of the last things you say is your name, so that they remember your name is Luna Rocks or whatever, and that takes a bit of time and practice to kind of get that stuck into your head. So if someone hands you the mic in the ring, you're like, okay, I can do this, but it does take a little bit of kind of training.
I see. So you mentioned in the beginning of the interview that you wanted to incorporate Ace Ventura kind of gimmick into your character. Are you also
originally?
Do you happen to be a Jim Carrey fan?
Oh, I am. I'm a massive Jim Carrey fan. Yeah, definitely.
Can you tell me if you had any ideas about this whole character, because it's so amusing and so interesting to me?
What, the Ace Ventura one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, like I said, like I was trying to kind of find kind of elements of my personality that I could bring into my character. And I like Jim Carrey, and I like the idea of having kind of a comedy side to it. So a lot of female wrestlers, they have their kind of like gimmick, but I found that there wasn't many kind of female comedy wrestlers.
That's true. Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's quite an unusual niche. But I kind of decided against it in the end, because it would to kind of get into the industry, you have to obviously be someone that someone wants you, as part of their show. And I'm going to get onto a topic that could be a little bit controversial, but that's sometimes what I've been renowned for. But like women in wrestling, it's a lot better now, but it has been to the point where they were dismissed, and they weren't on shows, and they were put into tag matches and just dismissed. So I didn't want to restrict my opportunities on promotions by being quite a niche wrestler, by being a comedy wrestler. So that's what kind of made me go against that kind of gimmick, because I didn't want to kind of restrict myself at the beginning. That makes sense?
Absolutely, yeah. So do you think, you must be aware of this wrestler Orange Cassidy?
Yeah.
Do you think a female Orange Cassidy would succeed in the indies at the moment?
I think again, it all depends on the person, and it might. I think if it was someone who was already a renowned wrestler, right, who kind of changed their gimmick, because someone like Session Moth, she Martina, she does. She's a very much that type of comedy wrestler, and she's done very well at kind of hitting kind of a niche where everyone appreciates her kind of character. But she started off less of a comedy wrestler and became more as she went along. So I think it also depends on the type of person and how kind of confident they are that they can achieve it, because the wrestling industry is tough, like any other industry.
Absolutely.
It is tough, and especially for female wrestlers, it is more tough than how men are in wrestling, because of how the scene used to be, like not that long ago. So, but I know it's changing. We're getting there.
You're getting there. True. That is absolutely true.
We're getting there.
So we're talking about male and female, and it's interesting because currently you hold the tag team titles with the male wrestler. So
Yeah.
can you tell me something about this? Like, how did it all come about, and your thoughts on intergender matches?
Yeah. So I'm tag team champion for Hope Wrestling with Kyle Kingsley.
Right.
And we were just we decided to be a team based on the fact that we both had a common interest in that we wanted to be the best, basically, and we weren't going to stop until we got that, and that's exactly what we did. And yeah, we may have fought a little bit unfairly, but we're champions, and we still are champions, and we have been for a while now. I'm trying to think when we won the titles. I think it was back in October last year.
Wow.
I think it was something like that. So, but obviously we've been in a pandemic, so but we're still tag
champions. So how?
Yeah, but
yes, go ahead.
Oh, so I was just going to talk about the intergender. So yeah, intergender wrestling. Like I see it as it shouldn't be classed as kind of anything different, really. Like especially with the nature of wrestling, and kind of you're there to majority put on a show. It's kind of entertainment value, and and women fight different to men, and men fight different to women. But that's surely what makes it kind of more of an interesting match. It's not just man versus man, woman versus woman. A man versus woman. There's a lot more kind of things you can do. A woman's going to have her own skill set, and a man's going to have his, and together they're going to create like a new kind of blend of entertainment, and I think that's kind of really exciting.
Beautiful. So I was speaking to a Finnish wrestler just a few days ago, Regina Rosendahl, and she was mentioning how intergender matches in her country, in Finland, were not really permitted. There was a time it was not. And then there was a topic of transgender wrestling, which was not really, encouraged in her country. Are you aware of the scene when it comes to transgender wrestling in the UK?
I mean, there's obviously people that are transgender that kind of wrestle, and to me, it's just another wrestler who wants to fight and entertain like everyone else. I don't see it as necessarily male or female, or even if they're gay or straight or bi, or to me they're there for the same reason I am, that they want to wrestle with new and exciting people in an environment that their characters portrayed in whatever way, and they put on a good show, and they get that across in whatever way they want, really, and the usual the better, I think.
Beautiful. It's wrestling stars like yourself who actually give some hope, to the future. Like, we can tell that the future in wrestling is bright when we, hear these ideologies and these ideas and this mindset, and it's beautiful. So, Luna, your entrance music, I love it. I love your entrance music. Can you tell me, how did you pick it? Do you happen to be a rock fan?
But am I what? Sorry.
A rock fan.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I grew up with it, and again, that's where this kind of exaggerated kind of rock chick of myself. I grew up with kind of old school kind of rock music from my parents, and I kind of developed a love for 80s rock, like Whitesnake and Guns N' Roses and all that type of stuff. And Whitesnake are one of my favorite, and Def Leppard as well. And I've seen them live as well at Download Festival, which was literally the best moment of my entire life.
Aww. All right. Okay. So do you think, since you're a wrestler and you know how the life of a wrestler is, Would you think that the life of a rock star is any harder than of a wrestler, or is is it harder? It's a very broad
Um,
question, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not kind of at the level that a rock star would be at, equivalent to a wrestler. Like if you think like WWE kind of level. But I think at the same time, it's equally the same amount of pressure I think involved in performing something. Whether it's music or wrestling. There's a certain a pressure to perform well, and and to make sure that you give the crowd a good show. So I think on that level, yes, it's the same, and and the skill set involved. A musician, obviously, they have to be able to maybe play guitar or play the drums or be able to sing a certain way, and that's their skill set. And a wrestler has their skill set of wrestling and everything involved in that, and that includes a lot of fitness. And I think that that's a very difficult comparison to even make. But yeah, I can see how they're similar, but
Right.
I think they're different in their own ways.
Right. So the reason I asked you that question is because when people look at wrestlers, they see the lights, the camera, the action, the glamour, and they don't really see the work that goes into becoming a wrestler. And especially when you're just starting out, when you're doing the indies, it's hard. And many wrestlers have to, in addition to doing just wrestling, they have to do a 9 to 5 job in order to support themselves because independent wrestling is just not enough. So, do you also have to, work another job? And can you tell us something about your schedule? How busy do you keep? I mean, keeping the pandemic aside, how busy is your schedule usually?
Yeah, I mean there's not many like indie wrestlers who have been able to take that leap to be full time, because the work that they have to put in to even be full time is ridiculous. They
Right.
have to be working like several shows a day, traveling up and down the country. So a lot of people try and make it as they're almost like their weekend opportunities. So they work their kind of 9 to 5 job, they train in the week, and then the weekends is when they kind of go up and down the country, kind of performing on shows. So most of the time, wrestling kind of takes up, my Friday nights, my Saturdays, and my Sundays. Like if I have like a busy show, and then I kind of train like once or so a week, to kind of make sure that I'm up to date with kind of the latest
Beautiful.
techniques, or just to keep on top of learning new things, so that my kind of move set doesn't get boring really.
Right.
So yeah, it is difficult.
It is
Busy.
difficult. So I'm curious. At your other job, at the one that you work during the week, do people know that you're a wrestler, or do you keep it like a little bit of like a Peter Parker thing? They don't know you're Spider-Man. How does it work?
My secret.
It's secret, is it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it usually does come out because it kind of gets to the point where someone will be like, "Oh yeah, what you do at the weekend?" And I will be casually like, "Oh, I've got a few shows," and then they'll be like, "Oh, shows," and I forget how unusual that sounds to other people, and then it just comes out as, "Oh yeah, I'm a wrestler," and that's when it's like, "What?" And then all I seem to get is, "Oh, don't mess with her. She'll beat you up. She
Oh
will,"
yeah.
and I'm there like, "I'm not just gonna beat you up," but then I'm like, "But I might beat you up."
Oh yeah. So if I were your coworker, I would be that annoying coworker who would ask you questions about wrestling every day, and you might be beyond. All right.
Yeah, maybe I might put you in like a chokehold just to be like, shh, quiet now.
I see. So okay, so now we get an idea that your schedule is quite busy. All right, so but schedule is one thing, but there's another thing that is very hard on the wrestlers, and it sort of is killing the wrestling business all over the world. And these are the parasites, who try to take advantage of the, female wrestlers, especially. I'm talking about the speaking out
Yeah,
movement that was recently ongoing on social media. What are your thoughts on that
yeah.
movement?
I mean, it's something that had to obviously happen. Any form of abuse in whatever industry, it needs to come out and needs to be heard. And It needs to be obviously in a safe environment where women and men, it's not just women, it's men as well have experienced this, feel confident enough to come out, so that the people who are doing this kind of abuse to these people, are called out and, stopped, from the police or however, is the protocol for things like that. It's, I think the movement was, a very, very brave and sad time for the industry, because it called out a lot of people and made people's perception of different wrestlers who you thought were decent people, turned out not to be. And that is quite a hit to the industry. But it is for the better, because without that, it's just going to cause more issues and more people are going to be, abused by these people, and it needs to stop, and people need to talk about it as much as they possibly can and not feel ashamed that, that they've been victim to it.
Definitely. And the part about this was so hard because there were so many names that were so surprising. Like, fans wouldn't have thought in a million years that this person who plays a hero in the ring can do such a thing. It's terrible. And so UK and US, these industries had the most people who were accused. So how do you think, is the UK industry safe? Do you feel safe personally, in the industry when it comes to all of that?
I mean, since the kind of speaking out movement really hit the kind of UK scene, there's been a lot of support from different promoters who have reached out personally to me, and I assume to other people, to reassure their kind of, especially their female talent, what precautions they're putting in place going forward. And I think, the volume of people who have spoke out about it has put an impact on how promoters are going to go about making sure that their talent is protected from people like that. And that was really reassuring for me to get those types of messages and stuff from promoters, because that did help make me feel safer. I mean, I'm the type of person that I am. I feel like I think because I'm a lot older than the most kind of majority of the females in the industry that have been victim to this, I'm a bit more kind of, I'll tell them, how what to do if anything like that happens. But they're attacking these girls that are younger, and they're vulnerable, and they're getting manipulated, and it's I can't even imagine how they must be feeling.
There's a promotion called TNT Extreme in the UK, and there's a wrestler called Molly Spartan, and she was telling me that they have actually started a new program called Safeguarding Program, where they have two wrestlers, Molly and her partner, who are actually safeguarding the wrestlers, from any mishappening. So what you said is actually beautiful, and kind of makes me feel that UK industry has done a lot more than the US industry has in terms of the safety for women. It's beautiful. All right, so now
it's good that we're sticking up for each other.
So now, since we're nearing the end of the interview, let's make it a little fun. And since you've been wrestling for about 3 years, I'm going to ask you 3 questions based on the number 3, and it's going to be a rapid fire, so you have to just throw the answers out. All right? Okay, so let's start. 3 things that you would change about the wrestling industry right now.
More female wrestlers on shows.
Okay.
More funding for schools, because they help so many young kids, do something with their kind of spare time from the government. Well, based on what we've just said, some safeguarding measurements put in place to help protect kind of the vulnerable and young.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so number 2, if you could wrestle 3 different match types, what would they be? Like any dream match types that you have?
Well, I would love to do a TLC match, table slides and chairs match. I did have one lined up, but it fell through, so I'd love to do that.
Okay.
I'd love to do a hardcore match,
Really?
And I would love to do another no DQ match because I've only ever done one in my career so far, and that was relatively new in when I started wrestling. So I want to see how much I've come across from it. So all hardcore matches.
I did not expect that. Okay. When I asked that question, I did not expect that. Wow. I did not know that you were such a, like extreme wrestling person. I had no idea. That's cool.
But I'm not to an extent, but it's just I'm one of those people that's like I have to try everything once. So I'd rather try it and see how it went and say that I did it rather than never getting the chance to do it.
Wow. Very cool. So are you not scared of heights because your first, option was like a TLC match? You're not scared of heights? Because I am.
Uh,
I very much
it,
am.
it's a very unusual feeling when you get in the ring. So I when I'm training and everything, like they'll be like, oh, let's do this move from the top rope, and I'll be there like, okay, and the nerves kick in, but it's when you're when you're in the moment and you're wrestling, and the adrenaline is kicked in, you're a lot more kind of confident and a lot more kind of like, you feel a lot more eager to be able to do these things because
Right.
the adrenaline is kicking in. So yes, I probably would be in training like, oh, I can't jump off this ladder onto this table, but in the ring I'd be like, I know how to do it. I know how to do it safely. I trust the person who's doing it to me. So go for it. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Awesome. All right. So if you had three wishes, what would they be? Any three wishes?
Any three wishes? Oh my god. I think probably the main one would be for you know everyone to go vegetarian or vegan so
I
that
love
we have a
that.
chance at protecting the planet and saving it before it's too late.
Are you a vegetarian
Um,
yourself?
I'm a vegetarian. I have tried to go vegan, but it's very difficult because I do like cheese.
Yeah.
But if whenever I try and not if for example if I'm ever going to eat meat for in whatever certain circumstance, I avoid red meat at all costs
I
because
love that.
it's the red meat and it's the production of kind of the red meat which has such a massive impact on the environment. The cattle industry, it's
Yeah.
insane. But yeah, I'm trying as best I possibly can, given
I love
situation.
that. As a vegetarian myself, I call myself a vegetarian, but I'm really not. But I'll tell you, I have the same problem. I love pizza, so I cannot give up on cheese. And
Yeah,
second is that I'm not a fully vegetarian because in America we have this chain called Buffalo Wild Wings, and they make the greatest chicken wings. So that's the only like meat that I have, but that's it. So
yeah,
I totally agree with your first.
yeah.
That's
Um,
vegetarian.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's the chicken. So it's just because chicken gives you such good protein,
Yeah,
and especially when you're kind of like training and stuff,
right.
But like and chicken's the lesser. The poultry side is not as crucial and kind of affecting the environment as kind of red meat and
Perfect.
cattle. So,
Perfect. I
but
love.
I see it as I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to get myself into a position where I'm helping the environment as much as I possibly can. As an individual. So yeah. So that's
Beautiful.
one of my wishes. I've got two more. What
Yeah,
can
more.
they be? I think this is a selfish one, but I think I'm allowed this one. So I would love to be able to have like the biggest ranch ever so that I could adopt like hundreds of dogs.
Oh, oh,
So because I'm obsessed with dogs, and I have three of my own, and two of them are adopted, and one of them's got three legs. He's originally from Cairo, and he's a little bit troubled, bless him.
oh.
And I just love him. I just love dogs, and if I could be surrounded by dogs all the time, every day, I would just be in heaven. So that would be my second one, and my third one, a wish. Um, it would probably be to 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 stop to clear the debt of everyone, all the countries in the world, so that everyone has kind of a fighting chance to get back on track. Because especially with places like Africa, they're in so much debt that they're never ever going to recover from it if people don't, get them out of that debt. So I think that would be the other one. Get them out of debt so that humans stand a chance at kind of getting back on track with their economy.
Beautiful. Wow, I'm just like, I'm blown away. If I was a wrestler, I would honestly steal you from your tag team partner. I would make a tag team with you. You were incredible. Wow. Really, I'm blown away. Incredible wishes. And, all three wishes, none of them for yourself. They're not selfish at all. They're there for
Well, the
you.
dog one.
That's not selfish either. I mean, that's beautiful. Beautiful, absolutely. And wow, I respect you so much more after this interview. Incredible. So I said that I was going to ask you, three questions. I'm a little curious guy, so I'm going to ask you one more, and that's if you could choose. And I'm going back to the rock star thing. If you could choose, between being a successful millionaire, billionaire rock star or a WrestleMania headlining wrestler, what would it be? One thing.
WrestleMania headliner,
I knew
definitely.
it. I knew it. And I love that answer. It just shows your passion, it's incredible. Incredible. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can tell you that before, this interview, I absolutely loved your career. I loved everything about your character, everything that you've achieved so far. I love Luna Rocks. And after this interview, I've just gained so much more respect. And I can't wait to, if you would ask me what my wish would be, my number one wish would be to see you on TV very soon, because I just can't.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I know it's going to happen. I just can't wait for it to happen. Speaking
Fingers
of that,
crossed.
yes, fingers crossed. Speaking of that, what is next on your radar? Let's talk about NXT UK, Japan scene, or America. What is your next goal?
I think definitely going international with kind of wrestling, because I've all everything that I've wrestled, everywhere that I've wrestled so far has been very much UK. So to be able to get an international booking, whether it's it just kind of Amsterdam or Germany or France or somewhere kind of in Europe would definitely be the next step and the dream, really, to be able to wrestle abroad, so that I can actually officially say that I'm a kind of an international wrestler.
Well, you are sort. I mean, look, you already have a presence. You have a presence in the UK, but on social media, people from all over the world know you and they recognize you. The people who follow your career on social media. So you are already kind of an international star, and I know that with the amount of hard work that you put in and the determination that you have, it's not too far away before we see you, rise up the ranks and ultimately in our television screens. I honestly cannot wait for that. So.
We'll see, eh?
Luna, what would your advice be for the people, the young listeners who are listening to you right now, and who just like you, aspire to be a professional wrestler? What would your advice be for them?
I think the biggest one is take that leap. Like you may be scared, you may think that people might judge you, but it's nothing like that. Find your local school, attend it, train, be kind of the person and the wrestler that you want to be, and you will achieve it. If you put in the hard work, you will get there. And if it's something that you've always wanted to do, then you can literally make your dreams come true if you put your mind to it.
Beautiful. Luna, I can tell you that I'm a total fan after this interview. It's such a pleasure talking to you, Luna. And thank you so much for joining us. Everybody listening to us right now, you can follow Luna's career by following her on social media, and that is at Luna Rocks Wrestler, and on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you want to know more about her career as she moves up the rank, follow Wrasslinews, because we will be keeping a very close eye on Luna's career and we'll be keeping you with everything. Also, if you want to buy her merchandise, message her on Instagram and she will personally ship you your items. Thank you so much, Luna. And you know what? Wait. This interview was too good and I'm fanboying a little too much. So I just have one more question.
Yeah.
Do you have any superstar that you really, really want to face?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, there's loads of different like local kind of indie ones that I would love to wrestle.
Okay.
But my favorite wrestler of all time, who I have loved since even probably before wrestling, like if he it's a man and he's WWE, but I love him so much. If I could wrestle The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I would be in heaven. So it has to be him. I'm putting my dream level up as high as possible. Yeah, I could go for local, but no, I'm going for the ultimate superstar.
Luna, why don't we do this? Why don't you issue a challenge to The Rock right now? Why don't you cut a little promo for him? Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Like, he's getting character.
Let's do it. Let's see Luna rocks.
Okay, here we go. The Rock. My name is Luna Rocks, and I am the Pink Power. You may not have heard of me, but I am a UK superstar, and I challenge you to a one-on-one match where I will defeat you. You may laugh at me, you may think it's a joke, but trust me, I am not joking. I am deadly serious. And I would like to see you come to UK, find me, a UK British superstar, and wrestle her in front of everyone, because you will be shocked at what I can do. And I pretty much guarantee that I will beat you, because I have a few tricks up my sleeve. So remember this name, Luna Rocks, because you will be facing her one day.
Wow. You know what? I have goosebumps right now. That was incredible. And I can tell you, I was hyped for the John Cena versus The Rock match, but I'm super hyped for Luna Rocks versus The Rock.
Oh my God, it's the dream. It's the dream.
It actually rhymes pretty well. Rocks versus Rock. And you have momentum because you're plural rocks. I think you can win.
I can see the merchandise. Rocks versus The Rock. Like, it's literally written in the stars.
Literally money. It's
Yeah.
It's destined to happen. We know it will happen. I'm rooting for it. Thank you so much, Luna. It was a total pleasure talking to you. And I cannot wait to see you on TV. Cannot wait to see you fight The Rock and achieve all of your. Thank you so much, Luna.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And this brings us to the end of episode 7 featuring Luna Rocks. If you liked the episode, don't forget to share it with your friends and family and social media followers all across the globe. And we will be back next week with a very special 2-hour-long episode. So don't forget to tune in to the Wrassingh Show next Tuesday and every other Tuesday after next Tuesday. And we will see you next week.